So you're looking for a small laptop but you're not a fan of the Fruit brand? Well, this laptop is actually lighter than my M1 iPad Pro 2021 plus the Magic Keyboard or even the M1 MacBook Air. It is actually only 950 grams, which is less than 1 kg. You'll barely feel it in your bag, no matter if it's a school bag, a handbag, or even a man bag. Today I'm gonna be reviewing the HP Pavilion Aero 13. Let's get cracking. In 2019, HP first released the Spectre flagship lineup, which is followed by a mid-range Envy a year later. People love these laptops because they are small, light, look good, built pretty well, and are quite capable in terms of performance, even for photo and simple video editing. This year, HP released the Pavilion Aero 13, which is the more budget option. Okay, starting at 3,549 ringgit, I wouldn't exactly call it budget, more like affordable. If you're looking for something to work on the go, because now we can go out again, or for school and you've been eyeing that Spectre or even Envy but can't swing that kind of cash, this might be the laptop for you. Let's get right into it. On the outside, the chassis is made of a magnesium aluminum alloy with a satin finish that feels really nice to the touch. I'm personally not a big fan of this giant HP logo because of how shiny it is. I wish they would have toned it down a little bit more, kind of like the Spectre. The keycaps are actually made of a sort of post-consumer recycled plastic. Good for you, HP. It also comes in a few other colors such as pink and gold, but what we have here is the natural silver version. The screen has a plastic bezel that is thicker at the top because of that webcam, and it doesn't tilt that far back, which could be a bummer when you're using this laptop on your lap. Since it's a small laptop, you want to have it as close to you as possible. Just like most small laptops, this one's actually pretty hard to open, and there are 5 Phillip head screws hidden underneath the rubber pads, and I know this because of my X-ray vision. Jokes aside, overall the build quality is pretty great with a robust hinge that you can open with just one hand, except for a tiny bit of flex on the keyboard deck, which is actually quite minimal. The build quality is actually pretty great for the price. The Aero 13 measures 297mm long, 209mm wide, and 16.9mm thick. It also only weighs 950 grams, which is insanely light. In terms of the display, what we have here is a 13.3-inch non-touch screen with a matte finish. It has a resolution of 1920 by 1200 pixels, which is a 60Hz IPS panel with a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. But for 200 ringgit more, you can upgrade for the higher resolution 2560 by 1600 pixel screen. That is basically moving up from 1080p Full HD to 1440p, but with a little bit more vertical screen space. Honestly, at this screen size with the 1200p Full HD panel, we already have a pixel density of 170 pixel per inch, which is more than a 32-inch 4K screen. So you won't really be able to tell the difference unless you're pixel peeping. The screen also goes up to 400 nits, which should be plenty bright for most use cases, and it is marketed to have a 100% sRGB coverage. And based on our own color accuracy tests, we verify that it is close to that, but not exactly. So it should be pretty good for photo editing and some simpler video editing. But I still wouldn't rely on it for super serious design stuff because of that lower Adobe RGB coverage. But it should still be great for most consumer workloads and even certain content creator workloads. The keyboard is backlit and looks pretty similar to the one from the HP Envy 13, which costs quite a little bit more. It has 2 levels of brightness, which is dim and bright. Okay, just a short rant here. Some reviewers like Just Josh are complaining about having white backlighting on a white keyboard, potentially suffering from what he called a keyboard contrast issue. Look, if you're going to be using this keyboard in a properly lit situation, just turn off the backlighting and it'll be fine. And if you're looking at the keyboard in pitch darkness with the backlighting on, all you'll see is the backlight. So I don't know what you guys are on about. What's up with all this senseless nitpicking? Anyways, moving on to the more important stuff, how does it feel like to type on this keyboard? Well, the switches have a pretty short travel, but they are quite tactile, so you won't feel finger fatigue over longer typing sessions. And the layout is quite nice, and it doesn't feel too congested while you type on it. Overall, I think this is a pretty great keyboard for a laptop this size. And here's a quick sound test for your reference. Next, let's touch a little on the touchpad. It is a pretty good size for a laptop like this. It tracks pretty well and accurate, but it doesn't feel the smoothest. For those of you guys who are still working from home or attending classes remotely, this laptop comes with a 720p webcam that, while not the greatest, should serve you still pretty well for general purposes. And this is how it sounds like. If teardrops could be bottled, there'd be swimming pools filled by models. Told a tight dress is what makes you a whole. In terms of biometric options, this laptop comes with a fingerprint reader on the wrist rest to the right. Moving on, let's talk about audio. Now, this laptop has two downward firing speakers that are tuned by Bang & Olufsen. They are not very loud even when maxed out, with a narrow soundstage. In terms of frequency response, we are also lacking a little bit of punch in the bass and lacking a little bit of sheen in the treble, but the mids is pretty clear and should be great for most types of content consumption. I'm just a little bit disappointed given the Bang & Olufsen label. I definitely use headphones with these since it also comes with an audio jack. In terms of I/O ports, this 13-inch laptop is actually pretty complete. On the left side, you get a HDMI 2.0 port, a full-size one, and then you get a USB Type-A and a USB Type-C that supports USB power delivery as well as DisplayPort 1.4. On the right side, you get another USB Type-A port as well as a power plug. Now, all the USB Type-A ports are 5 gigabits per second speed ones, and the USB Type-C supports up to 10 gigabits per second, but there's no Thunderbolt here because this is an AMD laptop. Before we move on to the benchmarks, let's take a closer look at the specifications of this laptop. The CPU here is a Ryzen 5 5600U that has a max boost clock of 4.2 GHz. It also has 6 cores and 12 threads, and that should be plenty for most consumer workloads. In terms of memory, this review unit comes with 16 GB of DDR4 running at 3200 MHz, but the retail unit that I could find online actually only supports 8 GB of RAM. Now, because the RAM is actually soldered, if they do not release any options with 16 GB in the Malaysian market, you can't really get it because you can't upgrade it by yourself. What you can upgrade though is the storage, because what we have here is a single slot M.2 PCIe Gen 3 NVMe SSD. And by default, we have 512 GB of storage, and that should be plenty for your OS as well as your other applications and such. But you can upgrade it later to a 1 TB or 2 TB should you wish. And in line with being a work and study laptop, we have to look at the networking specs. What we have here is Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2, which is going to give us plenty of options when working on the go as well as using wireless earbuds and such. Another important thing that you should look at with a portable everyday carry laptop like this would be battery life. Now, this laptop here comes with a 43 Wh lithium-ion polymer battery that HP said should last up to 10 hours and 15 minutes on video playback. Based on our test, we got up to 8 to 9 hours on medium screen brightness with Netflix on and Wi-Fi, so that's still pretty close to what they claimed. If you're using the laptop in a darker environment, let's say on a plane with all the lights turned off, you should be able to get a little bit more battery life out of this if you turn down the screen brightness. Then of course, we need to talk about the thermal design and acoustics, especially in a small laptop like this with such a powerful processor. Looking at the exterior, when you lift the screen up, it lifts the bottom of the laptop up to give it better airflow. And for a small laptop like this, adjusting power mode settings actually makes a huge difference. At the full performance mode, the CPU does go up to 82 Celsius and have a max power draw of 24 watts after about 15 minutes of stress test in AIDA 64. before, but the keyboard just got a tad warmer, nothing too worrying. And what this proves is that HP's thermal design for this laptop with just one fan is more than adequate to handle the output of the thermals from all the components, though you shouldn't choke the bottom of the laptop by covering the vents. In terms of sound, even at full load, the Aero 13 actually sounds relatively quiet for a small laptop like this, which is a pleasant surprise. In terms of accessories that you get with this laptop, there's not much. Firstly, you get the 45-watt smart AC power adapter, and then you get Microsoft Office for free, which is value added, and then you get a HP laptop bag, and that's pretty much it. Also, with every purchase of the HP Pavilion Aero 13 in Malaysia, you get a 2-year warranty of limited parts and labor. Terms and conditions apply, so do make sure that you have a read. Kicking off the benchmarks, we have the synthetics, and it's looking pretty good across the board, especially for CPU scores, but due to the size of the laptop, it seems like HP is capping the power draw to keep temperatures down. This is quite reasonable since we were already hitting 82 Celsius earlier during the stress test. Next, we have gaming benchmarks, and you won't be playing any AAA titles here, but I was surprised how playable Valorant is in max settings, even in 1080p. The integrated GPU is no slouch, just make sure that you keep your drivers updated. Finally, we have some productivity benchmarks, and we are seeing decent scores in Premiere Pro, which is great. That means that you can do some video editing on this laptop, but within reason. Now, Puget Photoshop refused to run for us, not only on this laptop, but on some other ones that we tested this week as well. But rest assured that I tested working on some photos on this and it performed just fine. Just don't go crazy doing 100-layer edits, as this is still a thin and light laptop at the end of the day. As far as 3D work is concerned, again, don't expect too much. Even if the CPU can handle the workloads of simpler projects, OpenCL performance here is still quite abysmal. To recap, here are the pros, mas, and cons of the HP Pavilion Aero 13. I give this HP Pavilion Aero 13 a lighter than MacBook Air #cheap buy 8 out of 10. In my opinion, with a solid build, decent specs, good battery life, and weighing less than a MacBook Air, as well as having a pretty great keyboard, this laptop is a pretty easy carry for work and school. It is also great for content consumption on Netflix and YouTube because the screen is pretty good, even the occasional round of Valorant. Not only that, this laptop also gives us pretty flexible and good options in terms of I/O ports, including a full-size HDMI port should you want to plug it into a bigger screen. The only downside for me would be the lackluster speakers, but then again, if I'm working on the go, I will probably be using headphones anyways because I don't want to be disturbing people around me and be a Karen. Anyways, if you want to pick up one of these Pavilion Aero 13 laptops, feel free to check out our affiliate links below. It's not going to cost you extra, and it's going to give us a little bit of a support so we can make more content like this. And that is all for me, and my name is Shane from Mob House, the Bangsawan. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions regarding this laptop, and I'll try my best to reply to you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, as well as follow us on Facebook and also Instagram to see more shenanigans from the Mob House crew. And I will see you in the next one. Wada!